All right, welcome everybody. It's your host Coincatcher, and we're back with another episode of the Meta Pharma Finance podcast. Today I have my co-host Johnny, and we also have Robert and Saba from Taunt, which is a super exciting project, which is currently kind of in launch mode, as they just released their Genesis passes. So hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
No problem. But yeah, no, it's good. Definitely be good to start with kind of like both of your backgrounds, a little intro into like how you guys got into crypto, what were you doing before crypto, and yeah, just like how you got up to this point right now.
Sure.
Sab,
You
you want
want
to go
to
first or
go
me?
ahead and hit it, and I'll come right after.
Yeah. So, Saba and I, we've known each other for a very long time. It's been 10, 15 years. And then when we first got started in crypto, we both own a IT asset company. It was kind of funny. In around 2016, 2017, just because we were really familiar, we see all these different IT assets coming through our building all the time. Um, in 2016, 2017, we started buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, et cetera, just because we were very interested in it. And then at one point, we actually started building out a Bitcoin mining farm. These are with a bunch of miners. We bought like 200 of these ant miners.
How early was that?
This was in 2016, 2017.
Nice.
So like this was when like the bull market was just hitting it around then. It was like when Bitcoin was hovering around 6K, went to around like 19, and then obviously fell back. So that was the first time we actually got exposed to crypto. We were about to build a giant 40 megawatt facility up in Port Angeles, Washington, that we were looking at. And then obviously when the market hit or when the market tanked, it was a little bit more difficult. That was kind of our first exposure. Fast forward to now, we continue to run our IT asset business, but we started getting a lot more involved in what was going on in crypto. We obviously stayed around. I held through those years all the way up to now.
Yeah.
And fast forward to now, Saba and a lot of our group, they're all they're all from the gaming world. I'm not. I'm just more on the hardware side. I've been involved in IT assets for now. It's been around 10 years. So that's kind of my background. While Saba's and a lot of the other founders, as well as our team, they all come from the esports side. So Saba, I'll kind of let you explain that and go into that.
It's kind of funny, like bringing it all together, Bobby, when you're highlighting mining sky in our original days in crypto. So really, the journey started in crypto was kind of mad. We were actually distributing large end Bitmain ASIC miners, guys. So like back then in 2016, starting to become 2017, really the IT asset business that me and Robert still own and operate today. The main partner in that fund actually had a direct relationship with Bitmain, and obviously being Chinese. And it was hard to get your hold on those miners. So that's how we actually entered into the cryptocurrency space back then. I mean, and I'll tell you one thing, like being in NFTs, being in gaming, being in to blockchain in 2021, 2022, it's sexy. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's hot.
Yeah.
Uh, there's big VCs, there's big brands. You see even like the premium like fashion brands heading in there, right? So like it's a whole nother vibe. Back in 2016, 2017, it's just like you're most likely a conspiracy theorist, or you're so smart that you're having a hard time communicating to the normal person.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's definitely been a wild run just seeing what was going on. But I mean, I remember there was conferences we were going to, me and Bobby originally, and we were walking up and having conversations with Charlie Lee, like the founder of Litecoin, right? We saw CZ in the VIP areas, like it was a different vibe because it still hadn't blown up, even though it was on its way up. Like the real big unicorns that are now running the cryptocurrency realm, let it be Binance or it just wasn't established yet, right?
Definitely.
So it's kind of crazy to think, but as far as my career and where it started from, so we were highly into tech pretty much for the last 10, 15 years. But before that, me and the other co-founder, I actually worked for him, Jeff Laboon, at Amazon Esports. And that's really where the whole vision, I think, of mobile gaming really started, especially for my career on the esports realm. And what we were doing was when we launched Amazon Esports, we were basically taking mobile titles and really bringing them into life. And what I mean by that is we were taking mobile titles, we were slapping on these big, sexy prize pools, right? And we were able to invite some of the best esports, either players or influencers, to come to compete in these mobile gaming tournaments. And then our actual distribution plan, we were able to have producers that produce the World Series of Poker, that produce the Super Bowl, Emmy award-winning producers through our sister and partner company at the time, be able to take these productions and distribute them on CBS Sports, to distribute them on ESPN2. We actually did the first ever third-party Fortnite event as well, which is pretty cool to see, especially back then. But the real, I think, learning point that we saw looking at 2017, 2016 gaming in esports compared to where we're at now in 2022, especially as developed, and I think you'll start to see what I'm trying to get across with the statement over the last 3 or 4 years. But the key turning point was games became free to play, right? So you saw things like Fortnite and Call of Duty. Now, instead of being charged $300, $400 for a PS4 or Xbox console, or having a laptop, which costs $1,000, and you have to pay 60, 70 bucks for Battlefield or whatever have you. Now games like Fortnite and Call of Duty are free to play, free to download. Starting with the mobile side, and then all the actual microtransactions are where the companies make money, right? So I think that was like a key turning point into really the whole esports realm, going into play to earn, and why it was kind of unique. But to kind of fast forward, I actually left Amazon and left the esports realm, still doing a lot of contract work on the side. We were doing I was still doing sponsorship sales for Jeff as he went and pioneered a few other companies, including eStars. So that's the sister company of the World Series of Poker we're referring to. Is eStars does high-end esports production. They do high-end white label content. Basically, they take in esports, either events or tournaments, and really bring them to light and shine them into light. And Jeff went and pioneered that industry. I mean, Jeff's background is pretty unique when you consider him having about 20 esports years of experience is very rare in this state. But he started at Xbox, moved his way into PopCap Games, EA Games, obviously going into Amazon, and then starting in eStars. So me and him stayed in touch. We still talked about crypto stuff on the side naturally. Back then, it was like 2016, 2017. I remember telling colleagues in my colleagues at Amazon or Microsoft. I mean, Seattle at the time wasn't as big, but it was very centric into the tech environment. And I remember telling these guys, "Yo, buy Ripple at 3 cents," and they thought I was out of my mind. And if you guys remember, Ripple, crazy run. I mean, now we see 100x's and we're a little immune, but back then it was absolutely mad. Did you go to you take a meeting, you go to the bathroom, you update your Blockfolio, you're like, what is going on right now?
Insane.
Right?
Insane.
So, I mean, long story, we stayed in touch. I was obviously in crypto, and me and Bobby were just jumping down the rabbit hole. We just immediately knew the minute that we saw the technology and where it was shifting, that digital currency just made so much sense to us, right? So we were trying to get involved every which way we could. And we thought the smartest way at the time was honestly getting involved in the mining side of the business. Obviously, big mistake, because if you just bought the coins now, you probably everyone probably been retired. But
I look at Saba all the time, and I'm like, dude, if we would have just spent all of that money on just the coin, we would be so much better off than mining the whole time and trying to figure out the most complicated part of the actual crypto infrastructure, you know.
But I guess you were helping push forward the space and get it to where it is today. So
exactly. I learned a hell of a lot. Yeah.
And you're just in the room with legitimately the smartest people I've ever met, right? And I feel like every time you put yourself in a position where you're dealing with people that are smarter than you, it always pays out, right?
Definitely.
So fast forward, and I guess to shifting it to play taunt, what is play taunt? How do we get involved in a play to earn realm in this NFT world of 2022, 2021?
Yeah.
It was about 2020. And obviously me and Bobby are still deep into the space. We're still talking to a lot of our old colleagues. 2020 was really interesting because if you guys remember, DeFi summer started popping off early in the summer, and we're all starting to get in touch. All of a sudden, Telegram groups are popping back up. You're
Yeah.
like, whoa, 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 what's going on? So alpha's getting passed around, and I think our big breakthrough was really with Jeff in particular. He had a lot of colleagues that were actually still stationed in Korea and internationally very well connected, and he was basically got a tip like, hey, you guys need to check out Pancake Swap. The Binance Smart Chain's coming around. It's a lot cheaper of transactions. And when it comes to like any kind of business idea, I think something that Jeff always taught me is, does it scale, right? Because if it doesn't scale, it doesn't make sense. And this idea of Binance Smart Chain made so much sense, right? Because like people can't afford these gas transactions and seeing how much money we were spending just to press harvest or claim or whatever have you in this crazy world that you were seeing with Ethereum. But we were able to get into Pancake Swap super early. I was able to really explore a lot of different tech that was popping up. And I mean, now you look back into things like SafeMoon and all the different coins that were popping up. And now I think they have a little bit of a bagged Sigma, but back then, really, it was revolutionary technology. And you guys know that on the call, like having a contract that's embedded where it's straight up, the contract for you goes into a liquidity pool, goes in and distributes into the holders, goes into a marketing wall. Like that was all in the contract without pressing anything. It was kind of revolutionary, right? And it's scaled in a degree because now people are able to afford entry into these different coins in all different notions just because of the value of the Binance Smart Chain. So I think that's where it started. And Jeff had a very fairly large, nice sized bag and was very comfortable at the time. Me being the younger brother esque, always looking for the shiniest thing in the room, my buddies are like, hey, you got to check out these NFTs.
Okay.
And they started popping up. And again, this is probably early 2021. And when it came to really anything on the crypto side, I always got Bobby's attention because we always just did everything together. And Bobby was vetting out Zedrun, and we actually teamed up with a couple of us, basically me, Bobby, and a couple of other buddies, and we started accumulating these horses. And I think what was unique about these horses in general, and for you guys that aren't familiar with Zedrun, it's basically an NFT, but it's a digital horse. And the horse, you're able to enter it into different tournaments and be able to win Ethereum if your horse places in these events. So I think what was unique is now we saw that, okay, it's an NFT, but it actually has some utility and it still has all the concepts that we loved about NFTs just in general, right? It has that technology that's embedded because NFTs bring a new feature of incorporating like this DeFi mechanism. It still has the art piece, and it still has this idea and this classification of being like a social token or like a social network, which I think was tremendous, right? It reminded me exactly of the esports days, right? If you're playing Call of Duty, you could be a Call of Duty guy, right? If you own a Bored Ape, oh, that's a Bored Ape guy. So you have your own like classifications per se, right? Of where you're at, and there's some pride in being involved in these communities. And I think when you see that type of loyalty and pride, where at the end of the day, it's about money, but when people are attracted to community or art, and sometimes it's not all about money, I think that passion and that ability to like stay in tune beyond that goes wide and far. And that's what really attracted me to get started. So we're playing Zedrun, and Jeff's watching. I still can't get Jeff to even give NFTs a shot. He's sitting down, pressing kind of claim and in auto staking and saying how greedy we are for always just chasing the newest thing. Like this is like the biggest era in the world. We always thought that DeFi made so much sense for crypto, but I was trying to get to him and I was like, this kind of does make sense because now you have an NFT into this play to earn realm where you still have the esports facility, the esports kind of background of having this community, but you're able to get a lot more out of it. And the turning point was when Jeff was able to see us playing Zedrun and realized that we're sitting there on an Excel file trying to track to see which one of our horses is doing well, right? And we're writing down notes as this horse is racing this digital race. It's funny to look back, and he couldn't believe that no one was capitalizing on really everything going on in the ecosystem, right? On everything, like as far as there's no sponsorships, there's no engagement in it, and this content that's being ran for 10,000 plus hours a week by all these Zrun users isn't really being capitalized for any sense. And again, this comes from his background of Amazon being tied into Twitch and really learning how to capitalize on building content in the esports realm. So at that moment, he's like, I have the idea. Instead of horses, which obviously everyone knows, horse racing is a dying product across any kind of gambling product. But he's like, we're going to slap on fighters, and that's really was really the beginning of the idea of Taunt Battle World.
Wow, it's amazing to have guys with experience like yours, in the space. Um, yeah, it's really exciting to see what you guys are going to be building as well, and how Play and Taunt, develops. And yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, why, you started off Play Taunt. Like, why does GameFi need Play Taunt right now?
Yeah, I think when you look at Taunt and what we're building, so first and foremost, we're building an NFT play to earn game. And instead of being able to just hold an NFT, we have the ability to take a NFT, and you're going to be able to enter it into brawls and tournaments. And in addition to being able to buy, sell, and trade, eventually we're going to be able to also include training in an adventure mode and different other features that we'll be developing as the product continues to grow. But the real differentiators for us are we're building basically a technology that we're introducing, and the technology and the tech actually started back in 2017. Jeff was able to acquire some assets from an old employee that worked for him at EA Sports, and they created an API, which was basically an engagement tool. So to understand it a little bit more clearly, imagine if we were watching Ninja stream on Twitch, and we were watching him, and there, as you know, there's thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people sitting here watching these streamers play their video games. The platform was basically a survey or an engagement tool that popped up as a streamer was playing a game. Viewers can now compete on questions that would pop up during the stream and be able to engage into the stream and compete just like a FanDuel or DraftKings tournament, with the questions getting answered. As you got a question right, you would move up on the leaderboard. So that technology in particular started in 2017. Jeff acquired these assets. The original company was funded by some of the biggest VCs in the world, Axiomatic, Foundry Group. They did Pokemon Go. They invested into even Fortnite. So some big names, and the technology was really solid. Jeff's original plan was, okay, we're going to acquire these assets, and COVID was popping up. And he's like, we're going to take these assets. And if you guys remember, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with sports betting, but all of a sudden there was no NBA games, no NFL games. COVID was hitting, and people wanted basically to still bet on sports. So they were starting to bet on simulated actual games, which is it's nuts to think about now. But I remember actively sports books having Madden odds coming, but they weren't actual. It wasn't an NFL game. It was a simulated Madden match, right? So the idea is like, we're going to take this technology, we're going to continue to build it, but we're going to build really what we wanted to be is a simulated sports betting product. One thing led to another, and I think Jeff made his way all the way up into a few different conversations with professional leagues, including NFL, including the NBA. And the problem is to get a product on Madden, you have to renew the contract every year because it's registered through the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So that went on pause. But as we were basically playing Zrun, he's like, okay, we could put this technology on these simulated fights, and all of a sudden now people could engage who don't need any money down, right?
Interesting, yeah.
And I think that was really the turn of, okay, we're on to something a lot bigger than normal. And what it is, again, to step back, is now imagine watching an NFT fighting simulation on Play Taunt, where now as a user, that I don't have enough money to get into the play to earn realm, which is a huge hurdle right now. As you know, sometimes NFTs to play these play to earn games, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden I could hop into this hop into the Taunt Battle World environment, I could not only play myself if I can't afford these NFTs, but now I could watch and earn taunt in-game currency, right? I could I could predict the outcome of matches. I could predict what's going to happen in a tournament. Is there going to be a knockout this fight? Is my fighter going to get into the final four of a bracketed tournament? Is my fighter going to win in live match odds? Right. So like all these different features. Now, if I don't even have enough money to buy an NFT, I can now go into this environment, be able to get into the environment, engage into the stream, and start earning in-game currency. And that in-game currency could be used to buy a boost or a weapon or a skin that could be sold on the secondary market. Or better yet, I could save up enough in-game currency to buy an entry-level NFT. And now all of a sudden I'm in the game, right? So what this is, and what I think was the key differentiator here, is now what we have is an ability to onboard users at a high clip, right? It's a real Trojan horse for daily user acquisition.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest gap in any game, let alone a play to earn game, is can you really fight this churn rate, which happens across every single platform, let it be a mobile game or a play to earn game.
Yeah.
And it's a huge issue with the play to earn game, right? So as players are coming on board, you're honestly just able to provide more and more utility for onboarding users, as well as your whales that are in the environment, because there's more and more demand for those type of items, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we really created this environment where we have a play to earn, we have a watch to earn, we have a predict to earn feature in Taunt Battle World, and we're calling this whole thing in really this engage to earn concept. So that is, I think, is one of the most unique factors, as well as a couple other partnerships that we did in real life, which we'll get into in a sec. But I think that is like the differentiating clip that we're really bullish on, and we really know that this is going to be a game changer for the play to earn space.
Yeah.
Sure.
Another thing too that I just want to throw in there is like
Nice.
like just the way the world's working, and like how kids are growing up now. You know, gaming and gaming as a whole. Every kid now, and you'll see it if you go to dinner. If you just look around, every kid's on their phone, they're on their tablet,
Yeah.
and all they're doing is playing some kind of game on their tablet or phone, whether it be Roblox, Fortnite, etc. Right? These kids, though, and adults, when they see that their credit card has spent $1,000 on in-game skins or in-game guns or whatever it may be for these games, parents go nuts because they're like, "What? I just spent all this," and then the actual item that's in the game or the skin in the game, it just goes straight to the game developer. But
Exactly.
the kid or the gamer just doesn't own the actual asset, right? So, like, naturally, as you see the progression of what pop culture is doing and how gaming is being affected, naturally, eventually, this money, people are going to be like, okay, if I'm spending all this money, I need to actually own the asset so I can then sell it eventually, or then trade it, or do something with that asset. So it's not just I'm spending the money on air, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So naturally, NFTs and play to earn gaming, that's what this does, right? If you can create a game that's similar like that you can create on the blockchain, where someone can actually own their skin or own that asset that they're spending money on and have a secondary market to trade it, that's naturally where the world is going to go, because people are not just going to spend $1,000 to $5,000 on all this stuff and then just be like, all right, well, what now, right? Especially when they stop playing the game.
Exactly. I definitely would want to ask, because it's interesting you went through, Saba went through the watch to earn and how you guys are kind of pioneering that segment into, GameFi. And I know like it's super important because a lot of people playing, Axie or Crabada or some of these other games, like immediately when the game gets popular, they get priced out of being able to play these games as soon as possible. But for a player, I definitely wanted to hear you guys walk through, so for the, guys that haven't heard about Play Taunt and they're just listening to this for the first time, what is what are you first faced with when sign up? What's the onboarding like? What do you do as a player in the Play Taunt world? And is it an idle game? What type of skill is involved? Just for the players out there.
Yeah, so I think what's important is our V2 is going to be launching at the end of summer, probably around July. We're really excited that we just launched, and I think we highlighted it earlier. We really just launched our beta and our founder pass, and for us, I think it's a unique spot where we decided to build and we decided to start actually acquiring our team going through legal processes, and really building Taunt probably early in 2021. But this month was the first month that we went out and actually launched our Founder Pass, which is our first NFT. And within a month of that, our hopes are to have an open and live beta version of the game already functioning and up. That is obviously a crazy concept in this world where most NFT projects are dropping an NFT, doing a massive fundraise, right? Drop a 10,000 plus collection. And then they wait a few months, and sometimes they even drop a companion. And then they wait a couple other months, and all of a sudden, we're dropping an in-game currency, fundraise some more. And all of a sudden, you're like, okay, I'm going to go acquire a gaming developer or get a developing studio and really start to build a game where they have no experience in the esports realm. We wanted to do things a little bit backwards, and we pride ourselves in the strategy. We did very, very limited marketing at all. And right now, we're still doing very, very limited marketing. I think you'll start to see us a little bit more on different YouTubes and AMAs, and we'll really start to build a community in a slow, steady pace. Because for a beta, it's pretty much open up to 2,500 people. And that's what our Founder Pass is going to be. And on top of having a Founder Pass, you're going to be airdropped a warrior, and that warrior could be used in the beta. So our game will be an NFT fighting simulation game. When V2 comes, we'll have things like, obviously, our Engage to Earn vehicle, which I'll kind of go through in a sec. Okay. But things like weapons, skins, boosts. So you have a general idea based off of your fighter's race, what their strengths are. There's going to be 5 different races. Very similar to how I'll bring back Zed Run, just we were highlighting earlier, how you know based off of a horse's genetics what it's generally going to be better at, right? Is it a short distance racer or a long distance racer? For us, there's a lot more unique things you could do with fighting. So it could be something where your character has, based off of its race, you have a general idea that has higher defense capabilities. It's better attack, right? It's quick, has a better health component to it. It's quicker to stun its opponent. So all these other features are going to be based off of the different race classifications of your fighter. And it's a game of strategy, but it's also a game of really management and discovery, right? Because you don't necessarily know what it's good at, but based off of the different tournaments and the tournament structures, it could be a longer round tournament. It could be a shorter round tournament. It could be something where you're required to put different boosts on. So depending on whatever that tournament organization is, you're going to have a better guess of which one of your fighters you want to include into it. But our first version is our beta version, and we're really going to be driving utility throughout the entire scope of Taunt Battle World to our founding community. And we really pride ourselves in that. I think not having something where we're going to be spending massive marketing dollars and building hype for something that's a year down the line is just something that we just didn't want to do, right? So so that's our process. When you're talking about Engage to Earn, I think in our second version in the summer, it's going to be pretty interesting in the sense of we're going to have now a vehicle where you're going to still need a digital wallet to be part of the ecosystem. But now by simply just watching the matches, predicting what you think the outcome of these tournaments and these brawls are going to be, you're going to be able to earn our in-game currency. And then if you compete in these predictive contests and you're doing well, obviously the highest performers are going to be compensated accordingly. So we're bringing a lot of our DeFi mechanics that we've learned through our years in crypto and basically making sure that we're compensating our early adopters, compensating the people that adapt the platform early. And then as we scale, which we think we have a huge competitive advantage in doing so, we're really going to be able to kind of ease off the process of doing so.
Yeah. I mean, with the brawls and tournaments then, is it just that, like, if I'm one of these first 2,500 people, I send my warrior into, some sort of arena, and then do I kind of like actively have an involvement then, or is it more of an idle game where I come back a couple hours later, similar to the treasure ecosystem and Krabada, where you just find out the result of the brawl? Or is there more?
No. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more interactive than that. So what's going to happen is there's going to be an actual fight that will happen, a 3D simulated fight that you'll see in real time. And then there's also going to be a pre-fight, right? where you're going to be able to choose boosts, and that's kind of where the strategy does come in. Now these things are simulated, so it's like once you choose your boost, there's a pre-fight, you choose your boost. So let's say like for example, I see if I'm battling Saba and I see that Saba has used these 3 different boosts every time he's fought, I can then counter those boosts and use X, Y, and Z. And then I send in my fighter to fight, and that will be simulated. And obviously, like, let's say you're countering him, your percentage of winning would go up or down depending on your boosts, right? And that's where like the strategy comes in. And then we also can tone that up, obviously, in V1 and V2 when those do come out. But for now, like that's going to be the extent of it for our beta version for the 2500. And then we're also running it's going to be a 100K tournament. That'll be for all of our Genesis Skull Pass holders.
Okay.
And this is another thing where it's like we're putting up our money right away compared to like these other projects who are not funded and they won't do that.
Yeah.
We're literally doing a 100K tournament in our beta version for all Genesis Skull Pass holders that anyone will be able to enter with the Genesis Skull Pass. And the reason we're doing that is, these good games aren't built overnight. They're not built in 6 months. They usually take 2 to 3 years to build out an actual real balanced game.
True.
So what we need is we have to run a beta version, and we have to have users that are committed to Taunt Battle World. And so what we're doing is we're going to put up a 100K prize pool for the beta. And what we're getting out of that is the feedback from our players, right? So once we do run that, and we whatever happens on that tournament, we'll be able to get a lot of feedback from that tournament and kind of put out our version 1 once we do have all that information. But yeah, it's crazy. We're literally doing a 100K tournament in a beta, which you don't see happen even in regular games, right?
Yeah, that's a super generous prize purse. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, looking forward to being a part of that as well.
Yeah, it should be fun. We're gonna have like Joey Ingram is a huge poker. He's probably the biggest poker vlogger. He's on our team. He's one of the best poker players in the world too. But he's gonna be like Twitch streaming it. We're gonna do a lot of different things during that tournament. So it should be pretty fun. Besides for the prize pool, it's gonna be really cool to watch these fighters actually duke it out.
Yeah, and for our listeners as well, can you tell us when that's going to be happening?
So yeah, there's 3 really big things that we're hitting on in this next 30 days. One is we're going to be releasing a white paper for our actual game that's going to be coming out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The actual airdrop for the fighter for all of our Genesis Skull Pass holders. It'll be 1 fighter per Skull Pass, which will be happening at the end of this month. And then the actual tournament, so the beta version of the game, which will be happening in the next 30 days as well. So all of this will be those are our 3 big milestones we're trying to hit in the next 30 days in that order. So you can be on the lookout for that, and all that's in our Discord as well.
Yeah, nice. That sounds good. Wanted to know if you guys could tell us briefly about sort of the other utility that comes along with the Skull Passes as well. We've noticed that you've attached quite a bit there to it.
Yeah, so we obviously the biggest thing is, 1, they're going to get entrance into the beta version of our game, and you'll be getting airdrop the fighter. We're always there's a couple other things too that'll be down the road. One is that you're gonna, for engage to earn, when that does come out, you'll be getting boosts on your engage to earn. So if you're watching and you do have a Genesis Skull Pass, you'll be able to get an extra amount of coin as you watch during the engage to earn side. There'll be future airdrops we're going to be giving out. Pretty much like our Founders Pass is going to be, that's something we're always going to be building around, because we're those are the people that they believed in us in the beginning, and as those people are going to be, those people are the people that believed in us and invested in us in the beginning. We have to continue to provide value for those people. That's just how it's going to go for us, at least. But yeah, the big things are obviously future airdrops on champions, entrance into the 100K play to earn, entrance into the 100K tournament. And then the big thing that in the future that we're looking at is obviously multipliers on the engage to earn as we get going. And then if you do have it, there's a channel specifically for you in our Valhalla chat. That's where everyone like kind of talks about the game, and it's pretty cool. We do like ETH giveaways sometimes in these battles that we do that are really cool.
Oh, I've had a
Um,
look at some of those. They're super cool. It's like you guys have like some it's interesting. It's like some mini game inside your Discord where you can like I don't know, it's like you just enter and you battle, but it's pretty cool to see like a lot of people engaging in it. I'm trying to work out a bit more how to, get some items in my backpack in the game.
yeah.
But that's super interesting. That's kind of like a new way
Yeah,
to do things.
great way to engage a community at this early phase. I guess a lot of people have a very short attention span in the crypto space, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, trying to keep them along, and like you said, keep the core believers along with you. And then when the game does launch, you've got a really solid community base to build off.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think
We oh, go ahead,
super
Saba.
important. Yeah, it's super important. I mean, we've been in NFTs now, obviously, throughout the last year or so, and you know how important it is to make sure that the core part of your community is compensated accordingly,
Yeah.
right? Because
So true.
that's the foundation of the entire platform. And at the end of the day, community is going to be a key notion, just as invested as you are. And I think in the play to earn space, there's enough room and what makes it so unique is it's an environment where not only can the team, but the core contributors and the players and the devs, everyone could win here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so for us, I think as more and more people spend time into the Discord and really begin to peel the onion, they start to see the fact that we just finished a massive raise. We've partnered with some big names, let it be Polygon Studios or Gen Block Capital or Shiba
Yes.
Capital,
Yeah.
some big names in the VC space, as well as in real life partnerships with esports technologies, which I think is another big differentiator for us. So esports technology, for those that don't know, they're publicly traded. They're on the Nasdaq, and basically, what the deal is that we have for them is they're going to be able to take our data feeds of our actual fighters and be able to build live gaming products for us on
Wow.
their online casinos. So
Oh wow.
in the V2 of the game, you're going to also be able to see is on their online casinos. You're going to start to see actual live fiat odds on gambling on one of our featured fights, which I think is so unique, right? And that was really the whole idea of digital horse racing when it first started. So when these sports books do close, that there's other products out there, and I think it gives us a unique ability now where they're publicly traded. They already made a statement out to their shareholders. They're very excited for watching our environment grow, and I think it's just a notion to how much potential really the technology has and how much potential the real team that Jeff put together has when looking at Taunt.
Yeah, actually, because I mean, Taunt, it's like you're building such a big ecosystem here. There's like, firstly, different ways people can engage and interact with the game, and then we have the tokenomics and like the monetary element. I kind of wanted to ask what you guys think are the biggest challenges you face, like when building this.
So I think naturally the beta version is always going to be something where we originally reached out to Polygon Studios,
Hmm.
um, very familiar with game development, obviously with Jeff's background, very familiar with tokenomics, building a gaming economy, building permanent liquidity. These are all things that if you're not into the play to earn space, it's very hard for you to kind of
Yeah,
comprehend it, or in esports, sorry, just in general, not even play to earn. But these are all components that we think are our strengths. But when we reached out to Polygon, one of the key notions or key goals for us during this beta version is really to tune in the security, right? Working with things like Fireblocks, making sure things are incorporated on a security measure on building something that's on the blockchain. So I think one of our biggest goals is really to tune that up. And when we reached out to Polygon middle of last year, they saw the technology and they were completely fascinated with us, and they were the ones that were like, hey, let us raise let us help us raise money. And we're like, hey, we don't even necessarily need money, right? We're funding this ourselves. Like we want to be able to be mobile and be able to make our decisions on the fly. They're like, listen, we'll help you out. And I think the turning point was like we're like we knew immediately that we could rely on guys like Gen Block Capital, like Polygon, and some of the other partners that we have on the crypto side to really tune in the marketing and technical support aspects of building on the blockchain, right? Because you could be the best game developer in your world, but if you don't understand the ins and outs of security, I think it's a key notion. So those are our key areas of focus. I think that we're going to really tune in on the next few months.
That's pretty interesting. I think that's like yeah, no, it's pretty cool that you kind of focus on that space. I think a lot of people, yeah, they easily, they do get stuck and trip up on the tokenomics, or in reward based games, people kind of like mess up the emissions that they're going through at the beginning. So like the price chart just tanks and things like that. But yeah, that's pretty interesting that you guys already have those things nailed down and that you are just as focused on security as them. We kind of know you have some big names backing this. But like because we've been speaking for quite a while, it's hard to like say things that I don't know. I hope it's not alpha or anything, but I know you have like a famous sports star behind this. I'm wondering how like or like supporting the team. I wanted if you could, if are you allowed to speak a bit about that, or
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this our strategy roots really back to Fortnite. And if you look at Fortnite, Fortnite is one of the most profitable games, if not one of the best games ever created. And if you look at the gameplay of Fortnite, I wouldn't even say Fortnite is the best graphic game or the best made game. It doesn't even compare to some AAA gaming studios right now that are building some type of actual playable games. But what they did an incredible job of is they continuously listen to the community, and they are top tier when it comes to marketing and business development, right? So as they make updates, the community is notified, and they did a really good job of introducing their own IP, so their own players, and then incorporating through their business development team other different features within the game. So it could start with Marvel characters, right, and then it moved to Capcom characters, and then you saw Marshmallow in there, and you saw Travis Scott have his new pair of shoes for all the characters and the skins and the wearables. Those are all features that we think work tremendously well in building a gaming environment. And actually, we're trying to bring a lot of those strategies to our games. So we're prideful right now in the fact that we're releasing 50 different base characters into this game right now. So when you look at the 50 different base characters comparable to the market, generally you have one base character for an NFT project that has 10,000 plus variations, as I'm sure we're all very familiar with. We have 50 separate base characters. Each one of these are fully 3D rendered and built for the metaverse. So off the bat, this is going to be something that we're going to have for even our Genesis Skull Pass holders, right? They're going to be getting a fighter that is highly textured, highly rigged, 3D built, ready for the metaverse or in our game, which is incredible, I think, off the bat. But after we introduced our IP, our strategy is to actually bring in combat fighters into the game. So we're really excited to announce that our two fighters that we've already partnered with, again, not as like on an influencer base, these are actually going to be in-game characters and in-game NFTs in our game that can be used in tournaments and such. The first is Chris Cyborg, obviously one of the best women UFC fighters, I would say ever. And I think what was very unique is I'm watching a lot of UFC. I know all our buddies do. I think women fighting is honestly way more entertaining than men fighting in UFC. So to have a badass in the squad like Chris Cyborg, we're extremely excited about. And in addition to that, we actually have the greatest boxer of all time already partnered up with us in Floyd Mayweather. So obviously has undefeated. I think it's undisputed that he's the best boxer ever to live.
Crazy.
And
Greatest ever lived, yeah.
And I think what's also great about the Floyd deal is we're actually going to be able to use the Money Mayweather branding in the game as well.
That's crazy.
So like skins, wearables, imagine golden gloves being
Exactly.
Money Mayweather, hoodies, Money Mayweather. So like those features will have boosts in the game, and those are all things that we'll be partnering up with. And I think it's going to start with combat fighters. We're also looking at like WWE guys, looking at old boxing guys, and we haven't got there, but like our goal is to get like a Hulk Hogan in the game, right? And every time you introduce 100 versions of Hulk Hogan, I mean, every time you introduce a Floyd Mayweather, every time you introduce one of these combat fighters,
Exactly.
it's almost like it's its own marketing,
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
So we're excited about it, and I think the reason why Cyborg and Floyd were able to kind of make a commitment into actually partnering into something like this is they were very well versed into knowing Jeff's background, knowing his resume, knowing some of the guys that are on the team, as well as obviously the 6+ months of legal work we've had just to fine tune everything. We are US based, we are a US company, so it's important that when we do things like partnering with esports technologies in real life company, they're based out of Ireland. So when it comes to everything involved with wagering, we're not housing that in our house, right? It's housed with something where it is legal to gamble in Ireland, right? So we're building a platform that we think has numerous ways of revenue, and we're really excited to like move from even combat fighters into this world of bringing in influencers, right? Kind of like a celebrity death match kind of vibe, or Def Jam Underground for you gamers out there. But
Bring some politicians in there. I'm sure that'll be fun.
that'll be great to watch. But I mean, we haven't been too loud, and there's going to be a time where they're going to really help us on upticking the marketing. But we haven't been too loud with those pieces yet because we're still not in the phase where we even need to have 50 to 100,000 people in our Discord.
Yeah.
But with the 2,500 Genesis Skull Passes, we're really bullish on naturally letting this build in an organic fashion. And the best part about this is we don't necessarily need to raise the money or sell out the passes to keep going on with development, right? Because we've already have the money in the bank. We're already almost 90% done with the beta, right? So it's like things like that. Like we're not in a space where it's like you have to sell out almost as a fundraise, right?
Yeah.
So we're very bullish on this tactic, and we think in the long run, especially as we approach V2, there will be a time where we start to pour gas on the, if you want to say, or on the fire, and really start to gear things up. And I think the engage to earn model will help us with the onboarding as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's I mean, yeah, I guess when you're going through a project like this, it just makes sense that you don't need to kind of like, I mean, there's no need to bring out so many heavy hitters just to start with. Whereas, you've got that. It's best to grow a tight knit, almost cult like community to start with, which is what you guys seem to be doing with the Genesis Skull Passes, which makes sense. No, but it's definitely been good to hear you kind of like speak about you know play Taunt and how it kind of relies in and ties into everything. But kind of like moving a bit away from play Taunt, it'd be interesting to hear you guys is like, what are your favorite, GameFi like projects right now? And so like what have you got in your personal
Yeah.
portfolios? And maybe even like not just GameFi, like DeFi, crypto in general. Like what are you guys bullish on right now other than play Taunt for the next 100?
Yeah. So it's funny, in the beginning you actually were talking about that the magic ecosystem in Treasure DAO. I was like, so back in the day, this was, I mean, I don't know how long ago it was. Saba and I actually ended up buying like 10 of the End project that we staked with the Treasure DAO right in the beginning when their contract came out. So we farmed up a ton of magic. And then the more I looked into it, and started to realize what it was at the time, I actually like was messaging John on the side, like just asking him a bunch of questions on what they're building and et cetera with Treasure DAO. And we ended up farming a ton of that coin. And as they started to build, I remember it was actually funny. It was one weekend I actually went away. I went down to Texas for like ACL. They have like this festival for music, and I wanted to go there. And I came back. Magic was trading at like a cent, and then I came back and it was trading at like 60 cents. And I had no idea. I didn't check charts that weekend. So I came back and I was like, what the hell is going on over there?
Crazy.
And I looked a lot more into that. And as I've been noticing what they're building, and I'm fully into the ecosystem. I have like 7 Genesis Legions. I got an all class. I'm playing Bridge World consistently. I got an army of auxiliary legions, but I'm what they're building at Treasure DAO and how they're doing it. I'm extremely bullish on that. That stuff they're doing with Battlefly, how they're doing it, how they're building out the ecosystem, how they want to be how they want to kind of be the Nintendo, and just be the platform that all these games build on top of. And especially because they're building on an L2 as well. Gas fees are cheap, and they're even talking about building their own chain. That's where I'm pretty heavily invested. So that's where a lot of my time is on the GameFi side. I know
We're
Saba
very
is as
bullish there
well.
with the Battleflies as well. We actually just picked up a V1 Founders NFT for our treasury. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if you've looked into those, but there's some
I
great
have.
benefits with that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking. So stupid. I was talking with Saba about it before even like when they first came out. I was like, we should grab a couple of these, and we didn't, and I'm
Yeah.
regretting that decision. That's for
Even
sure.
now, when you run the numbers though, they still seem undervalued, even at 6 or 7 ETH, whatever the floor
Yep.
is now. But
Yeah.
still seems like a good play. We were quite bullish on it.
Yeah, and like it's like even with market conditions and everything like that, like as long these guys are building something that's just so ambitious that and I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. So um yeah, like I said, long term I'm very bullish on Treasure DAO and everything they're doing over there.
Yeah,
We love
nice.
treasure. We love and I think what's very unique is really I always like looking things at a macro level. Why does something do so well, or like what on an actual top level, like reviewing what's so unique about treasure? And I think I kind of dumbed it down to a few different things. First off, they targeted pretty much the smartest guys in the NFT community, because who else was buying loot in N unless you're a real ape, or the fact that you're buying an NFT that's a number or a name, a bunch of words. You know what I mean? They're all developers, right? And they were all trying to build an ecosystem. So I think the fact that they targeted those communities originally was super smart. They did everything. Everything's a fair launch, right? Everything is super cheap, super fair. Mostly actually now everything going forward is going to be free. So I think
Yeah.
that's definitely important. And for us, I mean, we've invested a lot of money. We have a lot of time, money, team, legal, as I mentioned, all invested into Taunt, and we didn't want to come out and make something that's worth 1 ETH or half an ETH. So we kind of try to took the same mechanisms of keeping things super fair and cheap on our end. We'll start to continuously reward our original founders with in-game assets as well. So we're taking a lot of our learnings from like the staking world, or things like summoning and other features that we've learned in the treasure world, hopefully into the Playtaunt playbook. So I think that on the GameFi side is something that stands out to us.
Yeah. It's a very refreshing take, with all the cash grabs out there and pump and dumps and everything. So yeah, hats off to you guys for trying to build out your own version of that as well.
I think on the NFT side, I'm really bullish on guys that are building actual ecosystems and in development. And I think Fluff World to me is just one of the guys that has very limited marketing. They're starting to pick it up as well, but these guys have been in development and doing innovation. I think they were the first ones to ever have a 3D actual NFT, and this was back in April of last year. So that's another project that I think, as the world develops into 2022, it's all going to be about utility and
Yeah.
like real play to earn mechanics or real metaverse kind of executions. And I think they're a lot further than what anyone else has really been talking about, even some of the blue chip names in the NFT world. So those are two of our plays.
Yeah, I think you sort of just alluded to it, and we are sort of running low on time. So maybe to wrap it up, we can have a last question now on what do you guys see as the main narratives for the rest of 2022 and coming into the next few years?
Yeah,
You
yeah, I'll hit it first. So I think the market's getting a little bit one, yeah, obviously with macro level things in play, with war, with people, rising inflation, etc. We're going to take a short level hit, but long term, of what I'm seeing in the space, especially from crypto and NFTs, especially is people are becoming a little bit more sophisticated when it comes to what an NFT is, what it does, and what it should give back. Right, so you're seeing a little bit a scale back on just these profile pictures, and what you're seeing is a lot more people are actually doing their due diligence to figure out what this NFT can do for me, what's the long-term utility, and where can it, what's the value in it, right? Actually running numbers. So for me, and what I think is actually going to do well is a mixture between this NFT slash GameFi DeFi world, where people are actually using their NFTs to have utility. So that's where I'm putting a lot of my time in. Is these NFTs with a GameFi DeFi mechanic, and also the coins that are being used for that, right? The whole thing is in a lot of these GameFi and DeFi things, it's very hard to build out something because it represents it's always like the first person who gets it's a Ponzi, right? Like the first person that gets there is always going to be like it eventually, like they're going to make the most money, then it dumps and the game dies. That's kind of how it's done. But a lot of these games, whoever can figure out, the people that are building something that is long term, that can sustain itself without dumping and all of the prices dumping, that's where I'm putting a lot of my time, which is why I mentioned Magic, which is there's a couple other ones out there that are doing some unique things. But I think that GameFi with the DeFi aspect of these NFTs and coins is where a lot of my attention's going, and that's where I really think the future is going to be, especially just the way macro, how people are reacting, especially like kids growing up that have been in the gaming world forever. It's a natural progression from like being a teenager playing games, buying things in game with V-Bucks. All of a sudden you see, oh shoot, in crypto you can do the exact same thing. I can play a game, but it's real life money and I actually own my assets. I think it's a natural progression. So yeah, that's my thesis right now, especially during like what people are calling, I guess, a bear market, right?
I mean, I think the real opportunity for the rest of the year is going to be who could solve. I know there's a lot of people working on it right now, but who could solve really the cross chain issue? Like living on multiple chains at once and being a game in order to do so, and to take that tournament liquidity and bringing it all into one chain. And we have a couple of different interesting ways of looking at it on our end, but it is definitely a gap because you're bridging the worlds of crypto. If you're on Binance, you have no interaction with the AVAX people and so forth. And it seems like there's just a large scale of these DeFi kind of these DeFi sharks just hopping from one farm to another. So as the DeFi world blends into the GameFi realm, which I think you're starting to see, is whoever could really solve the cross chain issue, I think is going to do really well.
Yeah, it's been no, I'm totally agree with you guys. And especially on the remarks on just where we are in the current, I don't know, like economic climate in a sense. It's interesting because I think these may have actually been. I mean, like I know we've had bear markets, but I think it wouldn't be wild to say that, like, these are probably some of the toughest markets to just trade entirely. Like, if you're a trader in this space, if you're a yield farmer, if you're bullish, like, I mean, most people have ran to stables right now, and stable yields are getting dried up as well. So it's like it's definitely like a tough market, and we'll just have to see how long it does endure. But I think, like you said earlier on, like GameFi assets themselves have held up fairly well, I'd say, and I guess that comes a bit about with the playability, which is obviously the biggest question in GameFi. Like are people here to earn, or are they here to play, or how much of it can really be between both? And that's something that we'll hopefully find out through Play Taunt. But would love for you guys to kind of you can shout out your own personal socials, or the Play Taunt socials, and we'll make sure to link everything in the bio before we round off.
Yeah. You can follow us. So you can follow me. I'm Robbie Mole1 on Twitter, and our actual Taunt Twitter is at Play Taunt. So it's just very simple. And yeah, like I said, our Discord for Play Taunt's pretty. We're always doing stuff, giveaways, etc. in there, and the people are really cool, and we're always engaging in there. So you can talk to me there as well. But yeah, like I said, Play Taunt, we're in the next 30 days. It's going to be pretty ambitious for what we're doing. We're trying to build as quick as possible, but also have a game that people are going to enjoy. So, yeah, that's really excited about it.
Saba?
Well, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hopping on. We're definitely stoked to connect, and looking forward to continuing to build this relationship as we develop.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's been a joy to have you guys on, and after this conversation, I'm just like 10 times more bullish on Play Taunt than I already was. So yeah, we're going to be keeping a close eye, playing the game ourselves and getting some of our community members involved. Like we said, we've given out whitelist spots already, so just keep an eye out because you never know what's possible in the future as well. But definitely join the Play Taunt Guys Discord and make sure to give these guys a follow. They are amazing. But thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.